Now that we're underway with the body of the traffic light, we're going to spend this lesson refining the lower light fitting a little bit more to give that a greater degree of detail. To begin with, the outer tube that we placed there before, we're just going to hide that for a moment. Now we're going to activate the con manager. We'll drag that down into position there, and the construction layer we'll be working on for the time being will be con B. We can hide the back pole for the moment by using the hide command, and that way we've isolated the problem to one small area. In order to see the construction lines more clearly, we'll go for a different display option. We do that by floating our mouse over the perspective label, right-clicking, and the display option we'll use on this occasion will be the X-ray mode. So you can see the underlying construction lines, and we're going to use that to build our reflector to begin with. So to begin with, we're going to select the internal circle. You can see it there, and we're simply going to use the surface planar curves command. You can see it on screen there. Next, we're going to create the sides of the reflector by taking two of those construction lines and using the loft command. So there's the selection menu. We've left clicked the black curve, then we've held down shift and taken the outer edge of the curve. The command we're looking for is surface, and the second one down is loft. You can see the control lines on the image, which will indicate where the curve will be, the surface will be generated. Right click, the loft options will come down. In this case, just the defaults are fine, and we'll click OK. And you can see in hidden detail there, or in X-ray view, you can see the surface has been generated. Now what we need to do is subtract the cylinder from the outer body of the light fitting. So to begin with, let's build a cylinder. We can just dig under there. Just the standard cylinder will do fine. Make sure our points command is activated, or our snaps are activated. We're just going to click on our double view in order to, on the perspective view, in order to see all four viewports. And you'll notice if we have the snap command on too much, it can be a hindrance rather than a help. So you can see we're not getting the shape we want, so we're going to disable the snaps command now that we've caught the center of the space, and we're just going to drag it just within the inside edge of the reflector that we've just made. Now we're going to drag it to the left. That's fine. Now left click and just slide it into position, ready to go. Now, using a command that we've used many times before, we're now going to use a Boolean difference to subtract one surface from the other. So there's the outer ring of the light fitting. Dig under our Boolean commands, and the second one along is Boolean difference. It's asking for the surface that's going to be doing the subtraction. We've just created that blue cylinder for that purpose, and you can see we now have the body exposed and the reflector exposed. We'll change our display option back to shaded so it's a little bit clearer to understand. So we have the light fitting in place. Just going to turn off the layer manager there so we can see clearly. The next step will be to put a small chamfer around the edge of the light fitting. So the command we need for that is solid. Scroll down to fillet edge, and at the bottom of that drop-down menu we'll have chamfer edge. It'll ask for the edge to chamfer, and the one that we want is the outer ring of the light fitting. The size that we want is 5, so if it's not set to 5 on your machine, you simply type N and then enter. You'll see it's already set to 5. And in your case, you may have to cycle through that a second time, but once it's set to 5, it'll stay on that setting until you change it otherwise. And we're ready to go. You can see the chamfer is indicated. We've right-click one more time, and then right-click in order to execute the command. So you can see now we've just given ourselves a chamfer to the edge of the light fitting. Now we're going to build a short construction line from the top. In order to do that, we need to reactivate the snaps, and then at the top edge there, if we're on the right element, we'll just double click on perspective view, so we've got 4-point view up. That's perfect. And we're going to just draw a temporary construction line out 100 millimeters. Enter. Perfect. Our next step is to extrude that surface out that we've just created out to the end of that construction line. So our command will be solid, scroll to extrude surfaces, and the command will be a long curve, the second one along. We need to zoom in on our perspective view to select the relevant surface, which is just that thin little edge. Then we right click. It will ask for the path curve, and we're just going to zoom in on the front view and click on the leading edge of that, and we've now formed the front edge of the cowl. Now we'd like the edge of the traffic light to have a little bit more of a sinuous curve through there, so it's a hood rather than a full surround. So we're just going to hide that briefly. So I use the hide command, left click on the light bulb, and we're going to use the construction line which we just put in before as the basis of that subtraction. So we'll just use a straight line down, click onto the end of the line. That's fine. We want to come maybe 2/3 of the way down. That will do nicely. We can see them both there. And we're going to use the curve arc tool just here. So the second one in under the arc tool on the left hand side. So click on the end of the construction line which we've just done. Click on the other end, and we're just going to take it off ortho. And now you can see we can curve that line out to the position we want. Excellent. Now we need to connect that line such that we're going to be able to do a Boolean difference as before. So we're just going to go to the ortho command, switch that back on, and just quickly work our way around, being sure not to get clipped off center, and clip back onto the end of that line. And the handy check is simply to press the join line, and you'll see on the command bar it's now a single closed curve. We're just going to drag that closed curve to one side. Solid, planar curve, extrude straight. So this is just for the purposes of construction. There we go. We'll click on our show objects command. So we've got our hood back in position, and we're now going to subtract that curve, this section here from the hood in order to get that sinuous curve. So we're going to use a Boolean difference again. Select the element which we've just built, and now we have the hood to our design working quite nicely. We can subtract some of these elements. We can see that at this stage, and we'll just do a check. Now the last little step that we'll do in this lesson is we're going to put a face plate on that lamp. So we'll be using the ellipsoid tool, and we'll be splitting that afterwards. So if we dig underneath the solid modeling tools and just go to the second one, last one from the end, click on the top, there we go. And we're just going to click on that point that we've had previously. Switch off the points command, so we can just drag it out loosely into position. Switch onto the front view such that we've got a shape that's working for us. That's looking rather nice. I think we'll make it shallower than that. Left click, that's formed the geometry. We now are going to just slide that into position using the left hand key on our mouse. That forms the faceplate, so you can see it there on the perspective view. And we're now going to subtract that. Actually, correction, we're just going to drag it a little bit further forward. Let's just confirm. That's better. That's why we have all four views up, because it allows us to double check. And now we're going to use the split command in order to subtract the elements that we no longer require. So if we split, it'll ask for the cutting objects. The cutting object in this case is the surrounding cylinder. It's cut into pieces. We just want to keep the front face, and we can delete the rest. And I'm just going to hide that to confirm we can see that in place. And we'll show that again. Okay, so we now have completed, at least partially completed, the detail to the lower light, which will then be duplicated up the design.